Hey everybody, it's me Amanda with Once in a Wild, and welcome back to Once in a Wild Wednesday. I think it's time to just go ahead and get started. Welcome back everybody. Thanks for being here. I'm going to see who's checking in so far. Hello Ash from New Orleans. Hello, Donna. So good to see you on here. And Ash again. If you do want to leave me some comments down below, feel free to leave comments and words of encouragement and questions about the animals that we're going to be meeting, as well as anything you'd like to tell me about your week or how you're doing. I hope everybody's doing well. I hope you had a great week this week. I had an extremely busy week. We have been having a lot of business here once in a while, so I'm really happy about that. But of course, it's also a lot of work. I didn't even take this off my wrist yet. Goodbye. So I've been busy all day long, but it's been a lot of fun. I'm not complaining at all. And I'm very grateful. And we are blessed, aren't we? So I hope you've had a good week as well. I hope you're well. I hope your family's good. And if you are new to this show, welcome. We love newcomers. You went to an alligator farm? That is awesome. I bet you saw a lot of alligators and reptiles, right? Hello, Jeffrey. Nice to see you as well. I hope you're watching with your grandma. Are you? Let me know. And also, I was going to let you know before I forget, if you are new to our show, welcome. Our company is called Once in a Wild, and we are an animal outreach and basically education group, but we can bring the zoo to you. If you happen to be in San Antonio, Texas, that's where we are too. We live in San Antonio, Texas. It's really fun living here. It's nice and warm. It's getting warmer by the day, right? But if you would like an in-person animal program for your classroom for, well, there's not that much school left, but if you have summer school as well, or if you know some Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts, that would be great for them, or anything at all. Honestly, summer school, whatever. We can bring the zoo to your classroom for educational purposes. We can bring the zoo to you for animal therapy. There's all sorts of ways to get animal therapy and all sorts of animals we can bring to give you some therapy. That's a lot of fun. And we can also bring the zoo to your next party, like birthday parties, or even an office visit too, if you happen to be in our city or in surrounding cities near San Antonio. That's an option for you. But if you happen to live too far away for an in-person visit, because of course we don't have our own private jets just yet to get to you yet. But if you happen to live out of town, we can bring the zoo to you virtually, just like this. We can actually jump into a Zoom. I've actually been doing Zooms to Illinois all week, to a school over there. It's been a lot of fun. And that is such a neat ability we have nowadays to bring any programming in general, educational programming or any kind of meetings, to anyone all over the world, right? But especially our mobile zoo is so neat to be able to do that. So if you're interested in any of those things, or you just have questions about what we do in general, my number is always down below, and our website is right here as well. And you can learn more at onceinaWilds.com. Please, if you haven't started following us on Facebook, or you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel yet, please hit subscribe. Please like our videos and share them if you can, and tag your friends, as some of you are already doing. That is fantastic. As well as turn on the notifications so you don't miss whenever we're live streaming. We do live stream every single Wednesday evening at 6:30 p.m. Central Time. So we are in Central Time every single Wednesday, unless you are notified that we're not going to be broadcasting for some reason. We always have this live stream. It is free of charge, and I hope you enjoy it. We brought some animals to show you guys, of course, as usual. But if you do enjoy what you see, or you want to support our animals and what we do for society and how we educate the public and what we do for animals, we do a lot of animal rescues and rehabilitation. We also we do a lot. So we are a company, though, that relies on your purchases of animal programs, or you can purchase merchandise from us at onceinawild.com, or you can donate to us as well. So in order to donate, you have a few options too. We do have an Amazon wish list at onceinawild.com. You can't miss it. Also, we do have a general donation option at onceinawild.com, but we have an Amazon wish list, we have a Venmo, a Cash App, as well as a PayPal as well. And feel free, if you can, to donate to our cause. It does help out quite a bit, and we very much appreciate it. So with that out of the way, that is all I want to announce this week. I don't really have any public events going on yet, but stay tuned. We may have some coming up for the summer. You never know. I'm seeing who else is on here. Let me see. It's so good to see everybody. Hi, Laura. Nice to see you. Mom is also saying hi to you, Laura. If you guys don't know yet, Donna is my mom. My last name is Winter as well, isn't it? Sure am watching with Grandma. That is so very nice. Hello to your Grandma. And I'm so glad you guys are on the show today. So I hope you guys are doing well. Like I said, we've been super busy, like I said, which is fantastic. And I just brought 3 animals to bring on the show. We don't really have a certain theme this week. Last week, we talked about a few reptile species that I sometimes recommend for pets because I get a lot of questions from kids and adults too on what I recommend as far as reptile pets or pets in general. So I brought 3 options for you guys to learn about last week. If you didn't actually catch our live stream last week, don't worry. They're always uploaded automatically onto YouTube as well as Facebook. But if you want to go back onto our YouTube and check out the playlist of live streams, you can see a whole bunch of videos there. I also created a few other playlists this week, and you guys can check out a few of our animal advice there's an animal advice playlist, there's an about us playlist, and there's a whole bunch of playlists. So check it out. If you haven't subscribed to us yet, feel free to hit subscribe if you want to, and share our YouTube channel with anybody you think that would like our YouTube channel. That helps us out a lot. We're trying to hit or try to get more followers. That is something we really, really need and would help us out a lot. Hello, nice to see you, Daniel. And Mr. Turtle, hello. And let's go ahead and get started with our animal program. Again, I brought 3 animals to meet you guys, or to show you guys, I guess. I'll show you 3 animals and we'll talk about them as we go, just like usual. So our first animal is actually a snake friend. If you guys know me very well, you know that snakes are my favorite animals of all. I do love, love, love snakes. And this is one of our Baird's rat snakes coming out next. Come on. This is Midas. Midas is a Baird's rat snake. This type of rat snake can be found in Texas and also Mexico as well. This specifically is the Texas Baird's rat snake. That means that they're found in Texas. They're usually found in very dry climates like deserts and scrub areas, sandy areas, things like that. And they are amazing rat snakes. Rat snakes, there's a whole bunch of them, right? Let's see if we can have him sit still so we can see him a little better. He is quite wiggly right now, but I'm sure he'll settle down a little bit in a while. Settle down a little bit. This is Midas. Midas like gold. You can see he's mostly silver, but he does have gold on him as well. He's got kind of gold coloration under the light. Isn't that beautiful? And his belly is slightly red and gold too. Baird's rat snakes are one of my favorite of all the snakes. They are so very beautiful. In fact, I love them so much that I actually have a tattoo of one right here on my arm. See this red and yellow snake? Of course, this is an artistic rendition of a Texas Baird's rat snake, or a Baird's rat snake in general. It's actually a Mexican Baird's rat snake on my arm, but I think they are so very beautiful. They're actually born spotted. They have a spotted pattern on their back when they're babies. If you look back at some of our videos, you might be able to find Midas as a baby, and he has turned a whole bunch of different colors already. Well, he's lost his spots on top almost all the way. You can kind of still see those spots. Little spots along his spine there, and he's more striped now with stripes all the way down his back. Isn't that amazing? These guys are incredible. Now, how they change colors is basically as they grow. So snakes of all different types, they're born small, right? They hatch out of an egg, and they're a different color typically than what they look like when they're adults. Some snakes change a lot more than others. The Texas Baird's rat snake and the Mexican Baird's rat snake actually do change quite a bit. You said he's cute and wiggly. Thank you. But they will change basically as they shed their skin. So reptiles of all kinds will shed their skin as they grow, and reptiles technically never stop growing their whole life. Now, when they're babies, they grow a lot more and a lot more quickly. And then as they get older, their growth slows a lot. Right? Now that makes sense to me because if you're a baby animal, you have a lot more vulnerability, a lot more predators, more danger to watch out for. And so if you're tiny, it's a lot less safe for you. So your body is going to want to grow up a lot quicker so you can be safe from enemies. So as they are babies, they'll grow very rapidly. And then once they hit maturity, which is like breeding age, for the snake, it would be around, I would say 3 or 4 foot long. Not a very big snake. And they would slow down their growth quite a bit, but they would still keep growing. And snakes do shed about every 5 weeks. So anywhere from every 4 to 6 weeks. So about every 5 weeks is how much a snake will shed, or how often I should say. And they will shed all in one piece. And as this snake grows up from a baby to an adult, they actually change colors gradually all the way through their life. Isn't that amazing? That's one reason I named him Midas. Midas, like gold, like the golden touch, right? The legend of Midas. He has a, well, it's not really his sister, but it's another Texas Baird's rat snake that I have. It's a female, and her name is Sterling. Sterling and Midas. Right now, he looks awfully sterling silver in this light, but he does have gold as well. I think they're absolutely gorgeous. Now, of course, snakes get a really bad reputation. You probably know somebody in your life that is afraid of snakes. But this type of snake is nothing to be afraid of whatsoever. In fact, you really shouldn't be afraid of other snakes either. You should just learn to respect them. And it's okay if you're a little bit nervous around snakes. We just ask that you don't harm them. So you can run away screaming if you want to. That will leave the snake in their habitat and let them do their job, and they'll survive another day to snake another day. In fact, they won't even really hear you screaming anyway. They'll just wonder why you left. But most snakes in the wild want nothing to do with us, right? And they're probably more scared of you than you are of them, because we're a lot bigger than them. And instincts will tell them that, hey, this big animal might be dangerous, and that big animal might eat me, right? So they're going to be a lot more scared of you. So the best thing to do when you see any wildlife in your own environment is just leave them alone. They're there for a reason. Most animals are, right? Now, if you have an animal in your home and you need to have that animal gently removed, there are definitely professionals that can help you with that. If you have a snake in your home that shouldn't be there, then the best thing to do is to call a professional animal service that can help remove that animal safely. And typically they will re-release the animal to an appropriate place, and that will be that. But we do encourage you guys not to harm snakes, even the venomous types, because venomous snakes are also very important. In fact, it's the most dangerous situation you can put yourself in with a venomous snake is to actually try to harm them, because then they're going to be very defensive, right? And that means biting, because snakes don't have claws or the ability to scratch you. The only defense they have is to bite. And they usually just try to get away anyway. So they're really not an aggressive animal most of the time. Ash says, we think all the teachers in the country should give your information to the students. These shows are very educational. Thank you, Ash. Thank you very much. If you have a question, go ahead and ask your question on the comments. You're saying, Daniel, that you have a question. So go ahead and ask your question in the comments if you don't mind. And if it's something I can read on the air, I will. All right. So that is our beautiful Texas Baird's rat snake. Did you know that snakes don't really have any external ears? It's still debatable if they can hear a little bit, but they definitely don't hear like we do, not nearly as well. And they can feel vibrations as well. We do know that they can feel vibrations of very loud noises, like somebody stomping around in their area or, wherever they are. Or they can hear very, very, very loud music. We know that because it creates vibrations that they can feel, because they certainly can feel. And snakes do not have eyelids. Do you know that? He's being awfully wiggly today. This type of snake is a pretty active species, so that's not very uncommon. So there's his beautiful brown eyes. Can you see? Snakes do not have eyelids. Did you know that? They don't have any eyelids or the ability to blink. So instead of having eyelids, they have a beautiful scale over their eye, which is clear, and that shows their eye color and their pupils and everything. Snakes have different eye colors, and they have different shaped pupils. Some snakes have slitted pupils and some snakes have rounded pupils, right? It just depends on the species. But they have a clear scale nonetheless, no matter what the snake species. They have a clear scale over their eye. They can see right through it. And it doesn't allow them to blink. They don't blink. They don't need to blink. They can also use their scale over the eye. It's called a spectacle scale. They can use that as a goggle if they want to go swimming underwater. A lot of snakes do go swimming underwater a lot more often than some. This type of snake is more of a dry weather and habitat type snake, so they really don't swim very often, but he could go swimming just like any other rat snake species. Rat snakes, there are so many different types of them all over the world. And rat snakes are colubrids. Colubrids are harmless snakes, non-venomous. Most of the time they're rodent eaters, but some colubrids also eat bugs. Like garter snakes eat bugs, like roaches. That's really great, right? We definitely need animals to keep roach populations under control, but we also need animals to keep rodent populations under control too. And that's what rat snakes mostly do for us? They eat a lot of rodents. Now, they don't necessarily eat rats. There's only a few rat snake species that commonly eat rats because they have to be big enough to eat rats. They could eat small, young rats, right? But this species mostly eats mice. And as a young snake, he might even eat things like lizards as well. Since the snake is so thin, does it have to eat smaller mice, etc., or does its mouth open wide open for a bigger one? Good question, Ash. So I think I just answered that a little bit ago, but he would eat very small rodents like hopper mice and things like that. Hopper mice are no longer than about like this from head to hind end, and not including the tail. And that's what he gets right now is little hopper mice. In fact, it's his feeding day today. I'm going to feed him after the program is over, actually. I didn't think about that, or else I could have fed him on the program. Maybe next time, or maybe next time we're on here, or the next time after, we'll do a snake feeding, because it's been a while since I've done that. And I know you guys really enjoy those programs, but there are a couple of programs in the past that you can look at where we fed a couple of our snakes. That's always fun. But yes, they do eat mostly rodents. So he would eat small rodents. Does the round versus slit eyes have anything to do with non-venomous versus venomous? No, it really doesn't. So it just depends on species to species. This is a good question. I'm going to highlight this question. So can you tell if a snake is venomous by looking at their pupils? First of all, you shouldn't be close enough to that wild snake. But that's a great question. It actually has to do with diurnal versus nocturnal, usually. Now, most snakes in general, most snakes are more nocturnal than diurnal. So that means you should probably feed your snakes more often in the nighttime when they naturally want to eat. But that's just because it's a little bit safer for them in nature to come out and explore in the night or hunt in the night because it's safer. There's less predators and there's more coverage, right? They can hide in the dark. But oftentimes with reptiles and most animals in general, if you look at a slitted pupil, that will help that pupil to open up more. And therefore, that snake might be more nocturnal than a snake with rounded pupils, which might be more diurnal. So this type of snake can come out in the night or the day. So they're adapted to both. Like I said, though, most snakes will come out more at night than the daytime, but I know rat snakes especially do come out during the day, especially when it's warm out, like summertime and springtime. So that is actually what that means. So a slitted pupil, for example, I'm trying to think of a slitted pupiled snake that's non-venomous. Ball pythons. Ball pythons have a slitted pupil, and they're, of course, non-venomous. But that just means that they can take in more light. That pupil can open up more than a rounded pupil. That's really all that means. There are so many animal myths surrounding snakes and how you can tell the difference between venomous versus non-venomous. By the way, we do use the word venomous and not poisonous when we talk about snakes because it's a true venom and it's not a poison. So poison has to be consumed either by eating it, drinking it, or by absorbing in your skin to actually affect you. So that would be like a poison dart frog. A poison dart frog can certainly affect you if you eat one. And some poison dart frogs can even affect you just by touching them and absorbing the poison into your skin. Venom has to be injected. Venom in a snake, not this snake, he's non-venomous, of course, but other snakes like vipers and cobras and all those guys, they do have fangs. They have fangs that are different than regular snake teeth, and they're more needle-like, and they can actually deliver venom by a bite, right? That is what venom is. Venom has to be injected into your bloodstream in order to affect you, or affect it into your skin at least. Venom also is what like a bee or a wasp has, or a scorpion or a spider, right? Instead of poison. Poison dart frogs, some other frogs, poison ivy, the plant, you touch it and you get really itchy and get a rash. That's what poison is. So just to clarify that, right? But no, there's so many different myths surrounding telling if a snake is venomous versus non-venomous. The best way to stay safe from all of them is just to not touch any of them, right? If you don't know what you're doing, because you never know. We could have, maybe somebody accidentally released a exotic venomous snake into the United States, and then you have an exotic venomous snake. It's happened. Sometimes people own cobras and a cobra escapes. Cobras don't natively live here in the US, for example, but if you don't know what you're looking at and you see a long skinny snake with rounded pupils that doesn't look like any animals we have here in the US and you think, oh, that's harmless, you might be wrong. So that's an extreme example of what could happen, but you literally never know. So the best thing to do is leave them alone if you don't know what you're looking for. But the best thing other than that is to learn what species normally natively live in your habitat, in your house, not in your house, in your country, in your state even, you can see and look up which types of snakes to avoid, right? But honestly, you really shouldn't be holding any of them unless you're a professional. That's just how I feel, and what I feel is probably the safest route to keeping the snake safe and keeping you safe too. But there are only 4 different categories of venomous snakes that can harm a person in the United States. Number 1, of course, is rattlesnakes. Rattlesnakes, we all know, are venomous and can definitely bite you and harm you. Rattlesnakes, to me, are really obvious if you look at the tail. Don't get close to them, but rattlesnakes have a rattle, right? And they typically try to warn us if they feel like they're in danger. They will start rattling their tail and it makes a loud noise, and most animals stay away from them. Humans should stay away from them too, right? Unless you are a professional. Maybe you're a herpetologist or something like that, or maybe you're helping remove the snake and you're a professional that way. Anyway, but we know that rattlesnakes have a rattle. They're a big, thick-bodied snake with great big cheeks where their venom goes. They're in the viper category of venomous snakes. 2 more vipers are the cottonmouth, which is also called the water moccasin. That is the same snake with 2 names. And then we have the copperhead. Copperheads are another type of venomous snake that's in the viper category in the United States. So there's 3 vipers: rattlesnakes, copperheads, and water moccasins, also known as the cottonmouth. And then we have 1 elapid, which is in the cobra family, and that is the coral snake. Coral snakes are like mini cobras. They are very small and almost never bite anybody because their mouth is so very tiny, so it's hard to get bitten by them. And also, they're not an aggressive snake. Most snakes are not aggressive at all. Some snakes are defensive. I would venture to say the cottonmouth is probably the most defensive of all of the snakes that live here in the US. But there's so many legends and myths and false stories of them chasing people. They're not chasing people. They're trying to get away. They might just be going in the same direction you are to get a quick escape, maybe between your legs or something like that. Hopefully that hasn't happened to you. It's pretty scary to go through something like that, I'm sure. But yes. So those snakes do not chase people. It's just not true. They don't want to chase you. They have no reason to. They're not going to eat us. We're way too big for them to eat, and they want nothing to do with us. They're just probably moving sporadically, and it looks like they're coming after you, but they're just trying to get away, and they're reacting. You know what I mean? So also the shape of the head is another myth. A lot of snakes, like banded water snakes and snakes like that, they will actually widen their head on purpose to look like a venomous snake, but they're just mimicking a venomous snake. So that happens a lot too with a lot of animals that pretend to be something else. They get mistaken for that dangerous animal, and unfortunately humans are bad about harming them, right? If they think that they're trying to do everybody a service by killing them. Not great. So that's also a myth. A lot of snakes can actually widen their heads, especially when they're babies. They get scared and they try to look big and puffy and try to scare you away. And, you know, they sometimes get killed for that, unfortunately. So that is another myth. The pupil patterns. I've heard all snakes with patterns are venomous. That's super not true. Most snakes have some kind of pattern, whether it's stripes or spots or bands. That is mostly for camouflage and looking really beautiful. Some snakes do have patterns to warn other animals, like coral snakes and king snakes and milk snakes, but most of those are not dangerous. And like I just said, even though the coral snake is the most venomous snake of all the snakes we have in the United States, and it's related to the cobra, it's tiny, so it doesn't usually attack people at all. In fact, it never attacks people. You might accidentally get bitten by one if you're holding it like this, but at that point, you're kind of asking for it, in my opinion. You should not be holding snakes that you don't know if you don't know what you're doing, right? I'm trying to think of any other snake myths surrounding venomous versus non-venomous. I'm sure I can think of some more. Here's a great question. I think I just answered it, right? Does a triangle-shaped head mean a snake is venomous? No. Some of the most venomous snakes in the entire world do not have a triangle-shaped head. In the US, 3 out of 4 have a triangle-shaped head. But like I just said, some of the non-venomous snakes, like water snakes, they're called banded water snakes usually. There's other types of water snakes. They're very thick-bodied. They look like a water moccasin a little bit if you don't know what to look for and tell the difference, right? To me, they don't look the same. But they also have a triangular-shaped head, and they can puff their head out to look bigger. So yeah, it's really not true. Let me see what other questions you guys have. Is their brain smaller? Sorry, is their brain smaller since they have a smaller head? Yeah, it is. But you know what? Brain size doesn't necessarily mean dumb. Brain size is just brain size. Birds have small brains sometimes, but a lot of birds are really intelligent. But I mean, yeah, it has to fit into their head. So it absolutely is small for sure. What about the snakes we find in the garden? They are small like that one too. So it really just depends. I cannot identify a snake for you just by that description. A small snake. I mean, babies of all types of snakes are small. So if you would like, I actually do a lot of snake identification this time of year. You're more than welcome to text my number with a photo of a snake and I can identify it with for you. You can definitely, or you can message me on Facebook if you prefer, but you're welcome to text me your animal photos and I will help you identify the animal and let you know if it's harmless or not. Most of the time they are, and most of the time you should just leave them alone. So if you have like a garden snake, in your backyard, it can be a rat snake, it could be a garter snake, it could be almost anything though. So just saying that it's small like this one, we don't know. So there's so many different types of snakes that live in the United States if you're in the United States. All right, trying to see if I missed any of your questions. You guys are asking great questions about snakes, and snakes are fantastic. Snakes are my favorite animals. They are so wonderful. They're so quiet and nice and noble, and they're soft to the touch most of the time. Some snakes are more rough than others, but most snakes are very smooth and pleasant to hold and touch, at least in my opinion. Some people are afraid of them, but I absolutely am not. I've never been afraid of snakes. And they get a very bad reputation like we've been talking about, and it's really not fair. I find it very, very unfair that snakes are judged so often before people get to know them, right? It's really not fair. I wouldn't want to be judged before somebody got to know me, even if I was in a cranky mood like some snakes are sometimes. Snakes are just trying to survive and do their job. And like I said before, their job is to eat a lot of rodents for us. If someone out there is not keeping the rodent populations under control, we can get sick. And I don't know about you guys, but I do not want any more diseases happening in this world right now. So the more predators we have, like snakes and owls and foxes and all sorts of predators that eat rats and mice, the better. And even animals like opossums and vultures that eat dead stuff, they're cleaning up diseases as well and helping us out. So all those animals are extremely important. All native wildlife has a purpose in the wild, so should be left alone, right? They are so neat, and snakes are so nice. They are also very easy to take care of in general. Most snakes eat about once a week or so. They use the restroom about once a week or so, and they just need a little water. Most snakes don't need much water, just some to drink, and maybe every once in a while we miss them or give them a little soak or a bath. And they're quiet animals. They don't complain about anything. And they're very easy to work with and present, aren't they? I just love them. Of course, this is a baby Texas Baird's rat snake. He's a couple years old now, 2 or 3 years old. He can get up to around 5 foot. That would be a very, very long Texas Baird's rat snake. And unfortunately, they're actually one of the shortest lived of all the rat snakes. They typically only make it to 15, maybe 20. Most other types of snakes like this, colubrids, can live longer than that. But we shall see. Maybe they will be nice and healthy and actually live longer than that. You never know. Still a long-lived animal, isn't it? Most snakes do live quite a long time. But compared to some of the boas and pythons that can live into their 40s sometimes, or maybe even more, I think the record for a ball python or a Burmese python maybe was like 60. But that's extremely long-lived for a snake in general. But most snakes do live a long time, don't they? Most reptiles in general live a long time. There's only a few exceptions, like chameleons. Chameleons don't live very long. A healthy, robust, extremely healthy chameleon usually only makes it to about 7 or 8 years old at the most. That would be very old for a chameleon. Most chameleons live to be about 4 or 5, maybe 6 years old. So that is very unfortunate. Chameleons are super neat reptiles too. Anybody else have questions about our beautiful snake friend here? See how he climbs around? I really enjoy working with colubrids, which are rat snakes, king snakes, milk snakes, hognose snakes, all those guys. They tend to be a little more active than boas and pythons. And they're more slender bodied, so they're easier for me to hold and work with. I just think they're the most beautiful snakes of all. Which is why, of course, I have a tattoo of a Baird's rat snake, a Mexican Baird's rat snake on my arm. Wonderful, wonderful animal. So now that it's getting warmer outside and summer is coming instead of winter is coming. Summer is coming. You will see lots of reptiles hanging out in your backyard. You'll see lots of snakes. Please don't harm the snakes or reptile. They are there for a reason, and they do us a lot of favors. You can leave them alone if you don't like them. In fact, you should leave them alone. I do not recommend picking up any wildlife. Hognose are your favorite snakes. They are awfully cute. Maybe one of these days soon we'll have a hognose snake in the Once in a Wild animal collection, but we don't have one just yet. I have worked with them in the past. I worked with literally thousands of animals in the past, and especially reptiles. I probably have more experience with reptiles than any other wild animals that I've worked with. But I don't currently have a hognose, but I would love, love, love to have one in our collection to talk about them, because there's so much cool information. He's just wiggling around. There's so much cool information about hognose snakes. They are so cute and cool, aren't they? And they're kind of a small snake. He's leaving. Do I have to put oil on their skin to help them stay healthy? The only, that's a good question. The only reptiles that I put oil on their skin, and it's just olive oil to keep them healthy, is our tortoises. So tortoises oftentimes can benefit from some olive oil or natural oils like this. Ugh, frog in my throat. Natural oils like that to keep their skin moisturized and their shells nice and smooth and moisturized, right? They benefit a lot from a weekly soak. So we soak them in some water. They don't have to swim in it. It's just like shallow water. So it can help them get hydrated and have a drink and everything. Of course, we give them drinking water every day. But we soak our tortoises about once a week. And when we soak them, we typically put a little bit of olive oil on their shells and on their skin, and it helps them to stay very healthy and moisturized. The tortoises that we have, especially, are the red-footed tortoises. So those guys, are a tropical species. So they benefit from lots and lots of misting and moisture and things like that. And unfortunately, I live in South Texas where it's a little bit dry for them. So putting the oil on them helps them a lot. But if you live in other places like Florida, Georgia, where it's a lot more humid, they may not have to be oiled as often. Does that make sense? Yes, I had a frog in my throat. Sorry about that. There's no frogs on the program today, and now you know why. No, I just, a little frog in my throat. Excuse me, pardon me. All right. Oh, this is cool. You have 2 red-eared sliders that are going on 30 years old. Good job. What are your red-eared sliders' names? I would love to know. Are they boys or girls? Red-eared sliders are a lot of work to care for. I know you have reptile experience, but I don't really recommend red-eared sliders for everybody. That's one of the more high-maintenance type reptiles, right? Some reptiles like snakes, especially small snakes like this, are very low maintenance. Turtles, whew, that's a lot of work. That's almost like having fish on steroids. It's a lot of tank cleaning and water cleaning and filters and things like that. I would love to see a red-eared slider someday. That would be so neat. They are really neat when properly taken care of and everything. And obviously they are almost 30 years old. So good job there, Jeffrey. Very, very good. All right. I think Midas did a fantastic job. Of course he did. He's wonderful. We'll say goodbye to Midas. Look at that cute little face. One of my favorite things about the Baird's rat snakes is they have a pink tongue. Almost looks like a cartoon character. Most snakes have like a black or a dark tongue, but they have a very cute reddish pink tongue. I want him to show it to you one more time before I say goodbye. To him, anyway. Come on. There it is. A little bit. Ooh, a little red tongue. He is so cute. I guess he doesn't want to stick out his tongue for you guys, now that I said that. There it is. Beautiful brown eyes and pink tongue. So cute. Okay, Midas, you are fantastic. Let me put him down. I can't wait till he grows big. They are such beautiful snakes, aren't they? They look metallic. And of course, that's why I named him Midas. They look metallic. He looks like silver and gold. Sterling is like that too. Sterling is a little bit smaller, so more spotted still. And Midas is getting his adult stripes, which is awesome. That shows me that they're doing well and healthy and all that, right? Just checking my camera's timer really quick, you guys. There we go. And let's go ahead and meet some bugs next. I brought some bugs. Thank you, Ash. I guess that was for Midas. Zippy and Houdini. Is one of them an escape artist? And 2 males. They have long nails. So usually the red-eared slider males have really long toenails in the front. And that's how they do their mating dance, is with the toenails. Look it up. It's really cute. I bet you know that. OMG. Is that for the frog in my throat? Excuse me. I know that was a terrible joke. Very, very cute. Okay, let's meet some bugs. You guys want to meet some bugs? It's been a minute since I brought our roaches on the program, so I decided to go ahead and bring some of them. Madagascar Hissing Cockroaches. Let's show this one. Well, they're all being wiggly today. Okay, this guy is really pretty for a roach, I think. So these guys, settle down, bud. Whoa, these guys are from Madagascar, right? The last animal we met is from Texas in the United States. This animal is not from the United States. And if you know much about me and you've met me in person and we've talked for a little while about animals, and the one animal I don't like, you know that it's roaches. But these guys are actually okay in my book. They are not too bad. The roaches that I don't care for personally, to each his own, but I don't care for the flying roaches that we have in the United States, specifically in Texas. They're really, really big. Goodness gracious, our roaches do not want to be held today. I'm sure they'll settle down a little bit. There we go. Crawling all over me. The ones that have the wings and that can fly right at you, I don't like those at all. They scare me to death sometimes. But these guys are very different. They don't have wings. They usually don't move very fast, but our roaches are on the move tonight. I think they're feeling awake and like exercising right now. So Madagascar Hissing Cockroaches are from Madagascar, of course. Madagascar is in the African continent, and it's an island. So they're an island roach. Some people call them an island roach, island cockroach. And they don't have wings. They usually don't move very quickly in general. Right now they're running amok on me and away from me sometimes, right? They also are not dirty. They're not a disease, guys. They're not a disease-carrying insect. So they're not dangerous for me to hold. Everything's fine. They're not going to carry diseases or give me viruses. But they are going to leave right now. Goodness gracious. One at a time, I guess. There we go. Normally, they're fine. I guess they've had enough. But they don't really carry diseases. They don't carry parasites that they can give us. There's no worries at all when it comes to being a Madagascar hissing cockroach. In fact, these are a food source for a lot of animals, just like most bugs in nature. I promise I'm not trying to hide from you guys, but trying to hold him in the light so you can see her actually in the light. So this type of roach, they climb trees sometimes, but they're mostly going to be found on the forest floor in Madagascar. They live in the jungles of Madagascar, and they are what we call detritivores. Detritivores eat plants, but specifically dead plants. So they will actually be on the forest floor in Madagascar in the jungle, and they will be waiting to, they will be waiting to eat fallen leaves and other fruits and things that have fallen down, and they will eat them off of the forest floor and clean up the environment, right? That's what they do. And they do Madagascar a great service that way by keeping the environment clean. Pretty cool. And all the time, they are also feeding other animals in Madagascar, like chameleons and what else? Birds, as well as lemurs. Lemurs often will eat Madagascar hissing cockroaches on the regular. And that is actually why they hiss. I'll be right back, you guys. That's why they hiss. So lemurs actually eat this type of roach, and they hiss to scare away lemurs and other enemies that are afraid of snakes. So we just met a snake, right? This animal will hiss to mimic snakes in order to scare away their predators that try to eat them. So we're back. Oh, that was a close one. And they will hiss using their sphericals. Their sphericals are these little dots on the side of their abdomen. Either side here, on the hind end here, they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 10 sphericals on their body, 5 on either side of their abdomen. And that is where they breathe. That goes for all bugs, or excuse me, all insects, by the way. Like all sorts of insects breathe with their hind end instead of their face. Isn't that interesting? So they will breathe with their sphericals, and they take a deep breath and hiss with their sphericals too, especially the males. Males are really good at hissing, and they hiss to scare away enemies, but they also have hisses that basically talk to one another as well. So they could just be talking to one another. Let's see what you guys want to say. All bets are off when they take flight, right? Yeah, the roaches are not too bad until they fly right at you or jump down. I promise our roaches don't usually do this, you guys. They're hurting my feelings a little bit. This one's being more calm. There we go. I'm just having to switch roaches. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 roaches for options, just in case one of them doesn't want to perform. But yes, all bets are off until they start flying at you. That is so true. They make you also nervous, the roaches. Yeah, I don't blame you at all. It took me a while to get used to this type of roach. But once you get used to them, they're not too bad. And they definitely can't hurt you or anything like that. So it's just some getting used to is what I'm trying to say. Their sound, like they make a big thud when they fall. They're pretty heavy for a bug, and please don't worry about them. They're actually very well armored with their exoskeleton. They're one of the safest animals to fall, safe for them, because they fall out of trees all the time in the jungle where they live. That's what they're designed to do. They're designed to just like fall down and just land on their backs, basically. We used to let people hold them all the time at the zoo where I used to work, and if they fall, it's okay as long as there's like, you know, a carpet or something fairly safe for them to fall down to. So why it sounds so loud when they're falling on the program now is because they're falling straight onto my keyboard, and the computer is where my microphone is, so it sounds really loud. So I'm sorry about that. What are their antennas doing? Great question. So insects have 3 main body parts: head, thorax, and abdomen. Abdomen is where all those spots or sphericals are, right? We talked about that. And they have 6 legs. So she's got 3 legs on either side of her body. This is the female. And they have beautiful antennae. Those are the features of all insects, as opposed to like spiders or other invertebrates, right? There's arachnids like spiders, scorpions, and ticks. Those guys are in a different category than insects. Insects are different, and there's more insects than any other type of animal on Earth. Did you know that? Invertebrates are all over the place, all over the planet. But their antennae help them feel. That's why they call them feelers. Hello. They feel around. And they also kind of like a stick, right? Like a blind person's stick that they would use to, what do you call that? It's been a long day, you guys. Can you tell? You know, when somebody is seeing impaired and they have their cane or their stick, what do they call a walking stick? But they can use that to kind of feel around and tap and see what's going on, almost like whiskers too. But they also smell with their antenna as well. So they feel and they smell with their antenna instead of a nose. They do have eyes though. They have eyes right on the corners of their head. Their eyes are pretty small and hard to see. They do not have like compound eyes like a fly or anything like that. So they're a little bit smaller, but they can see, they can touch and feel, they can smell with their antenna and all of that. Isn't that cool? They do have a mouth to eat up all sorts of plants, usually dead plants. So they usually prefer leaves or soft things to eat, soft plants, but they don't eat animals. They're giving you the chills. I'm so very sorry. You hope the roach is okay? Yeah, he's fine. The one that went down to the floor, I just had to go retrieve the roach. That's what I was doing for a second. Did someone pull a Houdini? Yes. So basically, I'm holding them like kind of over this table that I have the computer on, right? And there's a camera right here. Hello. And the one that fell went onto my computer keyboard, and then crawled off the table and decided to go onto the carpet. So I was like, oh boy, gotta go. So that's what happened. Hello, Abigail. How are you? Can it bite me? No, they can't bite me. So their mouth is really small and very harmless to anything like me. But a plant, a soft plant, leaves, things like that, those are their favorite foods. Fruits, that's what they're designed to eat. So they eat very soft foods. A tiger salamander, that's cool. Tiger salamanders are really neat salamanders, amphibians, right? Hello, Alejandro. How are you doing? I hope you're doing well. We're talking about our Madagascar Hissing Cockroaches. And before that, we were talking about our Texas barred rat snake. bear's rat snake. So we're talking a little bit about snakes, and now we're talking about roaches. Roaches are actually the animal I find the scariest, but not this type of roach. However, it took me a few years to get used to the Madagascar hissing cockroaches enough to be able to hold them. So I've come a long way with conquering my phobias and fears. That's also something we can do for you with animal therapy. I know these roaches have been acting really crazy today, but normally they're pretty calm and easy to hold. So this is an animal we could potentially use for exposure therapy. I caught it. Use for exposure therapy, which would help you get over your fears of roaches and bugs. We also have spiders for that as well, like tarantulas. We have scorpions. And just being in the same room with them will help you to get over your fears. Or even seeing them on a virtual might help you get over your fears and get to know them. They're really not so bad. They're just doing their thing, not hurting anybody, right? Nothing to be scared of. Now, I mentioned that the one I was holding earlier is a female. Let me show you how I can tell the difference between a girl and a boy. It's very easy on a mature Madagascar hissing cockroach. The females actually have a smooth head right here. See the head? It's nice and smooth. Very cute. And then the males, like this guy here, he's got a good example. Hold still, hold still, hold still. I don't know who gave my roaches all sorts of electrolytes today, but they are running amok like athletes. Goodness gracious. You guys have your Red Bull before this happened? Before the show, they must have drank some Red Bull. But if you take a look, I give up. If you take a look, this guy, the one that's trying to run away from me, he's got 2 bumps on the top of his head. So the female's head was very smooth, and the males, once they're mature and big enough, they have these 2 bumps on the top of their head. That's how we can tell the difference. Now, we don't really know why they have the bumps, to my knowledge. It could be for attracting mates and things like that. They're certainly not a monogamous species. Madagascar hissing cockroaches and most cockroaches are colony bugs, so they're colonial. They live in groups together and they prefer each other's company because that's much safer to live in a big group together when you happen to be an insect that gets eaten by a lot of animals. If you live in a big group together, the odds are in your favor as opposed to living alone and being singled out by predators. So they are colony or colonial insects, and they live in big groups together with literally thousands of each other. So super social. They talk to each other with hisses, like I said, and maybe other noises we can't hear, and they can smell one another, and they communicate with smells and pheromones as well. So it could be a little bit of attraction for mates, but we do know the males have the 2 bumps or horns on the top of their head area, and the females do not. So this would be a female. They are the best, thank you, the snakes or the roaches. Both? You like the roaches? He looks like an alien from Star Wars. Which alien? You tell me which alien they remind you of. Now, they are invertebrates, which means they don't have bones, right? That's what invertebrate means. Invertebrate means no backbone, but they have no bones at all. So instead of having a skeleton of bones like we have inside of our body, they have an exoskeleton, which is like an outer shell. That's what keeps them safe when they're tumbling down onto my keyboard or tumbling down from a tree in the jungle of Madagascar. They do jump out of trees too, so trust me, they're okay. It's just very dramatic on the show. But they have an exoskeleton shell all over their body. And as they grow, an insect has to molt their exoskeleton. So especially as babies, just like the snake growing up, they want to grow up very, very quickly in order to be less vulnerable to predators. Because what's more vulnerable than a bug like this that gets eaten by everybody in Madagascar is a small bug that gets eaten by everybody in Madagascar. So as they grow, they do molt their exoskeleton, but they do it more so when they're babies, right? Just like the snake would shed its skin a lot more often too. Now, this type of insect lives a lot longer than most other types of insects. Most insects only live for a matter of weeks at their adult phase. Some insects like moths and butterflies, they might live a lot longer as a caterpillar before they go through their full metamorphosis to turn into a butterfly. And then when they're a butterfly and an adult butterfly, which is their adult phase, right? The pretty one, in my opinion, that is when they have a very shortened life expectancy. So most butterflies and moths and other insects like that, they don't live very long, do they? But this type of insect, they don't go through a metamorphosis. In fact, they're not even hatched from eggs. They actually give live birth when they have them. They have several babies at once. They can have up to around 30 or 40 at once. That's actually a pretty big brood or litter of babies, group of babies, right? But they do not go through a metamorphosis. They'll actually just be like a little nymph. It's like a little miniature Madagascar roach when they're born. They're usually white when they're born, and then they harden their exoskeleton very, very quickly right after birth. But as they grow, they have to molt, right? They take their entire exoskeleton off and change as they grow. But this type of insect can live for up to 5 years. That's a very, very, very long-lived insect. I was going to say roach, but insect in general. Which alien do you think he looks like? I'm super curious to know. They're super cute if you get to know them. They're not too bad. I'm sorry for giving you the willies today. I tried to show you several of them. Don't bug out, but I guess only one is really participating today. I'm tempted to try it again. Here's another one. Once they feel comfortable, they typically just kind of perch like a little bird. So this one's very dark right now because this one, it's a boy. See the horns on top of the head? This boy here is about to go through another molt. So this one's getting a little darker. And when they molt, they're actually a lot lighter. They're light brownish gold colored when they molt right after. And then they'll darken and darken and darken. And then that's when the exoskeleton's ready to come off. And it will come right off all in one piece. And I'll show you, hopefully. They usually look like so. After they molt, kind of a gold color. This one's kind of a dark brown and gold. Show yourself. You're so pretty. I'm going to show the people how pretty you are. It's like, bye. Bye. Oh, did you hear the hiss? He's angry with me. Okay, here we go. So that's kind of the color they are after they molt their exoskeleton. Very pretty. You can even see his sphericals like really, really well too. Let's see if we can get him to hiss again. I'm not hurting him, just cupping him so he doesn't fall. He did hiss a little bit when I picked him up, but if you heard it, great. If you didn't, sorry. I think I'm going to stop talking about roaches because these guys have just had enough. They clearly had some kind of caffeine tonight. Should be running amok. This will be a blooper reel for sure, you guys. I do want to create a blooper reel for you guys. That would be a fun video, huh? Do people eat them? I'm not really sure. I know that people do eat all sorts of insects all over the world. I'm not sure that Madagascar hissing cockroaches are safe to eat for people on a long-term basis, but they might be. That's something for me to look up. It's been a while since I looked up new information on Madagascar hissing cockroaches. I'm not really sure. Thank you for prompting that studying for me, prompting that research. The boys can't remember. Oh, the Star Wars character. You'll think of it later and get back to me. I know you will. You love this? Even though we're having bloopers? Thank you so much for your support. This is real life, you guys. If you can't tell already, this is actually me for real. I'm doing my best. So I appreciate you guys tuning in anyway, even though I make mistakes and the roaches don't cooperate and things go wrong. And sometimes I say the wrong things and you're very forgiving and very patient with me. I guess so. They got into the used coffee grounds and the compost heap, I guess. Ours don't live in a compost heap, but I could definitely see that happening. Thank you very much. You are so nice. Yep, it's live. Live in action. And I just have to roll with it, right? I mean, what can you do? Get mad and upset? That's not going to change anything or help, right? Just keep on going. Even if you have a frog in your throat, even if your roaches jump out of your hands. We've all been there, right? Your roaches jump out of your hands too, right? And even if your snake is too wiggly to be seen most of the time. Or if you stumble on your words, it's okay, you guys. I want you guys to know that it is okay to mess up. I do it all the time. In fact, I make mistakes. I make mistakes every single day, just about. There you go. Educational and fun. Thank you so very much. Okay, so we are going to meet one more animal before I lose my mind tonight. More so than I already am. Everything's fine. So we're going to meet one more animal. I'm actually going to just turn off my screen really quick and get our next animal, and I'll be right back in a second. Don't you worry. Okay, we're back. It's time for some lizard time. This is Lulu, the black and white Tegu. She is also very wiggly tonight. Everybody's running amok. Everybody got into the Red Bull. That's what I'll theme this this time. I'll talk about our wiggly animals and how they don't behave sometimes. So this is Lulu, the Colombian black and white Tegu. This is another jungle type animal, kind of like the Madagascar Hissing Cockroaches, but they do not live in Africa or Madagascar. They actually live in Colombia, just like their name said. It's a Colombian black and white Tegu. Look at her. Isn't she cool? Tegus are some of the most intelligent and active, not really the most active, but they're one of the more active and intelligent type of lizards in the animal kingdom. We're just going to wait this out, you guys. Sometimes Lulu is a little bit wiggly, and we just have patience with her and let her settle down. And she usually does just fine. So with tegus and their training, it's really important, and monitors and also iguanas too, it's important not to restrain them when they're doing this. I'm literally just having her walk on my hands, because if I try to grab her and hold her still, that will scare her and she will be very angry at me. And I definitely don't want her to be angry. I want her just to learn that she should settle down and be still. Look at this crazy girl. This is partially why I don't really recommend tegus for most people. Some tegus are absolutely sweet and very easy to work with, but you never know what you're going to get when you get a tegu sometimes. You are okay. Are you cranky tonight? Are you okay? But now she's settled down just fine, right? Maybe we'll keep it short with her too. So this is the black and white tegu lizard. Tegus are omnivores, and they're typically scavengers. So they will go around looking for eggs, dead animals, fallen fruits, sometimes other vegetables and vegetation and flowers in the jungle where they live in South America. This is the Colombian species, right? In Colombia. Lulu's favorite food in particular is eggs. If I need her to eat something else that's a little healthier, I can't think of an example right now, but if she's just not into a particular food item because it's a little bit healthier for her, you know how everybody is, the less healthy the food item, the less we want to eat it, right? The less healthy the food item, the more we want to eat it, and the more healthy, the less we want to eat it. That's just nature for most animals. The things that are more healthy typically don't taste the best. But if I put raw egg right on top of her healthy food, like a salad, for example, greens, she will eat it, no problem, because she loves eggs, don't you? She's like, eggs, where? And typically I'll crack a raw egg over her diet every time to get her to eat nice and well, nice and good, nice and all the food. Could it be that he smells the cockroaches and he likes to eat them? Well, she's a girl. We know that because males of this type of lizard have great big fat cheeks, and male Colombian black and white tegus are bigger than this as well. They're far bigger for her age. So she's a girl, first of all, and I don't think that I think it's because I woke her up, because she basically was underneath a blanket in her travel enclosure just now, and I think I, probably just made her a little cranky by waking her up for a brief little segment here. So she's just throwing a fit a little bit. Sometimes animals just want to get down, and the best way to train them to not behave like that is to not reward that quote unquote bad behavior. She's not really being bad. She's just being a natural lizard. But in order to make sure she doesn't get away with that every time and not reinforce that behavior, I'm not going to put her down when she's being wiggly like that. In fact, when I'm ready to put her down at the end of this segment, I will basically wait for her to be calm like this, and that way she gets the reward of getting to go back and take a nap. They know we have a storm on the way. Maybe that's why. That is pretty legitimate, actually, Jeffrey, is that animals do definitely act different when there's storms or different pressures in the air. My ducks tonight were acting really strange, and they live outside. And tonight, when I was putting them away before the program, I wanted to make sure they got put away before the rain happened, and I had to do it in the rain. That would have been good. Now, ducks really like rain. That wasn't really the problem, but I think the pressure is like changing. Pressure changes and all sorts of weird happenings are happening with the weather right now. So that might actually be what's going on. Now that I think about it, they certainly do have sensitivities to that. Even dogs have sensitivities to all that too. Maybe so. Maybe they're like, put me down. I need to go shelter in place and get ready for this storm. We are expecting a storm. So I want to make sure and get this over with. Not over with. That's not what I mean. I want to make sure and get the program done before we have potential thunder and lightning and maybe, lose power, etc. Good life lesson. Thank you. Yes, very good. I mean, but they do eat roaches. So that is legit. Of a comment as well. Is the tongue picking up smells? Yes. So tegus as well as snakes, right? They have similar tongues. So the snake has the forked tongue with 2 points on the end of it, just like the tegu has a forked tongue with 2 points on the end of it too. Tegu's tongue is much, much thicker. Tegus can taste with their tongue as well as smell, and they can also smell with their nostrils too. So they're a little bit more capable of sensing than a snake is. Snakes only smell with the tongue. They don't smell with their nose. They do breathe with their nose though. But she is picking up smells with her tongue, and she has what's called Jacobson's organ, which is a pocket on the roof of her mouth, like a snake has to. And they stick their tongue out, gather smells with the tongue. They move their tongue back into their mouth. It will brush up against the Jacobson's organ, which is on the roof of her mouth, like a little pocket, and it will tell her brain information and smells and all sorts of stuff that she's picking up just by sticking her tongue out and putting it back into her mouth, and it will tell her brain directly what's going on. A very, very good observation. They do have one of my favorite tongues of all the lizards. It's a big, long, pink, forked tongue, and they stick it out a lot. They're pretty amazing, aren't they? Lulu is awfully beautiful. If you guys don't know Lulu's backstory, Lulu's a rescue. She's, out of the 3 animals today, is the only rescue. Our roaches were actually given to us a long time ago, but all those roaches have probably been replaced by generations of new roaches. So all of our roaches look the same, and they're always molting and changing color. So I don't give our roaches names. I can't tell the difference between them other than male versus female. So they don't really have names. They're just a nice group animal. The roach army is what we call them. And they have had lots of babies for us over the years, and the babies grow up pretty quick. So as far as the original roaches that were given to us about a year ago or so, I don't think any of those guys are around anymore, but their offspring sure are, as you saw. And that's what we have. So those aren't really rescues. They were just gifted to us. The Baird's rat snake I did actually seek out and purchase. I really, really, really wanted some Baird's rat snakes for our programs and just for me. And also, Lulu is a rescue though. So Lulu was actually found running around a neighborhood in Dallas. Back when we lived in Dallas a few years back. We're from San Antonio, but I did live in Dallas at the time. I actually got a call from one of the animal shelters in the Dallas area saying that they had found a Argentine black and white tegu, is what they told me, an Argentinian. And that's a different type of tegu, but I digress. So they told me they found a tegu running around in a neighborhood, and they had already captured the lizard, and they needed somewhere for this lizard to go. And they didn't know anything about this lizard at all. They didn't know if it was a boy or girl at the time. She was a lot younger than this. When I say a lot, I mean like 3 or 4 years younger than this. So she was pretty small. She actually had already lost her tail. She has a regenerated tail. See the regenerated tail? That white part is the regenerated or regrown part. It took her about 6 months to regenerate her tail, maybe more than that. So her tail had been lost in the catch-up, I assume, or out there in the wilds of the neighborhood. Who knows what happened? And she was running amok, and she was quite the wild child when I first picked her up from the animal shelter. She was trying to bite. She was hissing. She was very angry. Right now, she just wants down. She's not being mean or anything like that, not yet. But she's come a long way with her handleability and training. But, I mean, who knows what she had gotten into out there in the neighborhood. She certainly didn't belong running around in a neighborhood in Texas. They're not from Texas. So we imagine she was either an abandoned pet that somebody let go, or she's an escaped pet. She's definitely something like that, right? Because they're not native to Texas at all, or the United States. They're from Colombia. Some tegus are actually invasive to Florida. You probably know that, but that's the Argentine tegu. So Argentine tegus are actually bigger than Colombian tegus. And there's ways to tell the difference by pattern and their size too. And both species of tegu, the Argentine and the Colombian, females are smaller though. And she's definitely a girl. She has very, very small, petite cheeks, which is how we can tell she's a female at this size. At this size, she would definitely already start having those big, fat cheek deposits that males have. And if you look it up, you'll see what I'm talking about. It's quite a bit different than the female. So she's a girl. But she is definitely a Colombian tegu. So Colombians are a little bit more sassy than Argentines, but they're both capable of being sassy. They're definitely wild animals. They're definitely intelligent. So they do take some training to get them to calm down for handling and things like that. But she was 100% a rescue animal. She would not have survived if it had gone into wintertime in well, not South Texas, but Texas in general, we do get pretty cold winters, and definitely not something a tropical species like this could necessarily survive. They can, what we call burmate, which is kind of like a hibernation during the winter for reptiles, but compared to the tropics is a totally different temperature. They can only handle slightly cold, not like snow and things like that. So she wouldn't have made it. She may have also gotten hit by a car. She might have gotten eaten by a stray dog. I mean, who knows, right? And they certainly didn't want her just running amok where she shouldn't be. That's actually been the story with a lot of our lizards. So our bearded dragon, Eddie, was also a rescue in the same exact way. He was found running around a neighborhood too. And another one of our lizards, who else? Oh, the Savannah monitor, Dino. Dino was also a lizard that was running around Texas as well. So it's kind of like a theme around here, but that goes to show you how often that actually happens. A lot of people will buy lizards as babies or maybe even as adults. Yes. And then they decide they just don't want them anymore and they let them go, which is extremely cruel and actually totally illegal. You cannot do that. You cannot release non-native species that belong in other continents out into the wild of North America or anywhere they don't belong. But yeah, I think they do know there's a storm on the way. I certainly didn't know until I checked my weather app, but that's first world problems, right? I don't have the sense or the sensory to be able to sense storms coming unless I go outside, I guess, and hear it or smell it. Do I have to check their teeth and do dental cleaning? That's a good question. No. So with reptiles, as long as they're eating the right food and as long as they're being properly cared for and everything, their teeth take care of themselves. How nice is that? Most reptiles regenerate their teeth. So snakes certainly do. Lizards do as well. Crocodiles, alligators. Tortoises don't because they don't have teeth. They don't have to worry about teeth regeneration. If tortoises and turtles' beaks grow too long, sometimes a veterinarian has to trim them. I actually know how to do tortoise beak trimming myself, so I've done that before with, well, Frank, our tortoise, needed a beak trim when I got him. He's another rescue animal. We rescue a lot of animals around here, don't we? Especially reptiles. Reptiles usually end up in homes and then unwanted after that because they do live a long time and they're a lot higher maintenance than people expect. They're a lot to take care of, right? They're not like an easy throwaway closet pet, are they? And you know that, Jeffrey, because you have the red-eared sliders. Those guys live a long time and they're very high maintenance, like I said. The lowest maintenance animal in here is probably the roaches, followed by the snake, and then the Tegu today. But we have other higher and lower maintenance animals too. But their teeth actually regenerate. So reptiles oftentimes will lose their teeth and then they can just regrow their teeth. So if they have a bad tooth and it falls out, just grows right back. How handy is that? I wish that happened with humans because we only get 2 sets of teeth, right? Our teeth come in as a baby and then we lose our baby teeth and then we grow in our adult teeth. And if we lose our adult teeth, then we have to buy teeth. We do not get another set of teeth as we lose them or if we lose them, right? That is such a good question, Ash. I love that question. I've never gotten that question before about reptiles. Now, with your dogs and cats and other animals like that, they're like us. They only get 2 sets of teeth too, most of the time, right? So we do have to take extra good care of cats and dogs and other mammals' teeth because they don't regenerate their teeth. So if they get nasty and full of plaque or they get dental disease of some sort, we have to actually treat that or pull teeth or clean their teeth and things like that. The dogs need that sometimes. Cats need that sometimes. We actually do. I do brush my dog's teeth, believe it or not, and most of our dogs chew on toys to help their teeth stay healthy too. Well, you guys, it's been a lot of fun. I think Lulu is absolutely gorgeous, and she's being so well behaved right now, anyway, that I'm going to set her down and reward this nice, calm behavior that she's showing. But take one last gander at this beautiful, lovely, exotic animal. And she's going to say goodbye. And we'll see her another time, I'm sure, on the show. She is very, very cool. I'm going to make sure she's secure before I come back to you guys. For obvious reasons. We don't want... I'm back. We don't want any other animals running amok in the studio, do we? Well, I think the snake was the best behaved animal of all of them, and then it just got progressively worse from there, didn't it? Ugh. Forgive all the mistakes tonight. Forgive all the bloopers. I'm sure you guys were entertained nonetheless. Are you not entertained? And I hope you had a good time nonetheless. Yes, so it's really, really important to take care of your pet's health and teeth, right? And I forgot what else I was saying, but that's okay. Will the part of her tail that grew back turn the same color as her? I don't believe it will. Now, to be very, very honest with you, the Tegu tails that I have seen regenerate in the past, they're typically solid black and not solid white. And I'm not sure why her tail is solid white like that. It's pretty much solid white with a couple spots on it. But I think it's actually kind of cool. I don't believe it will be the same pattern as the rest of her tail. But time will tell. She's my first Colombian Tagu. Maybe it's a Colombian Tagu thing and not an Argentine Tagu. Most Tagus that I've worked with before, at least in adulthood, are Argentine black and white Tagus, which is from Argentina and surrounding areas. Colombian black and white Tagus are for Colombia and surrounding areas. So they're different species or subspecies of around the same animal or almost the same animal. That's a great question, you guys. Well, I hope you guys have had fun. I'm sorry I was a hot mess tonight. I hope you liked it anyway. And maybe I'll get even more views because we had some mistakes. You never know how algorithms work, right? If you guys haven't subscribed to our YouTube already, please subscribe and share our videos with your friends and family and anyone you know that may love animals and want to learn more about animal. If you would like to book your own animal program, please let me know as soon as possible because we're booking a lot of them. And we want to make sure and get you on the calendar on the date that you want. So let me know as soon as you know the date that you want. And we'll get you booked, and that'll be a lot of fun. If you do want to donate to our Venmo, Cash App, or PayPal, we have those capabilities as well as our Amazon wish list. I did actually update our Amazon wish list as well. We have some new items on there that I actually needed. So if you have it in your heart to give, that is an option for you as well. And those of you that have already given, we greatly, greatly appreciate that and your support as always, and just for watching tonight and always and any night. And we just love you guys, and we very much appreciate everything that you've given us and that you've done for us. And I guess I'll just see you guys next time, unless you don't have any more questions, or unless you have any more questions. Love it. Thank you so much. And I think I'll go ahead and say, see you later. We are nothing close to ordinary, but we love to be your friend. Hold our hands and let's have fun together, singing as loud as you can. Everybody singing once in a while. Together. Once in a while. I want to hear you say once in a while. And that's the fun for me and you. All right, everybody. We'll see you same time, same day next week, Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. Central. We hope to see you next time. Bye-bye.